Thank you everyone for joining us today at our second Maker Hour session. This time we are bringing design technologists in the room, all from Atlassian, and hear how, well, actually I'm not gonna say what we're gonna hear about, we're gonna hear from them. So let me start by acknowledging the country. So I would like to start by acknowledging the custodian of the land I'm joined from today, the Gallitical people, and pay my respect to elder, past and present. I also acknowledge the traditional custodian of the many lands that you are all joined from across Australia and indigenous people of the lands of anyone join us from overseas. I recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture, and extend their respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islands people here today. So I'm Pierluigi Russo, design manager serving New South Wales, and I lead Friends of Figma at Sydney and Melbourne for all of you that never met me. And today in the room we also have Simon, design manager at Atlassian. He's leading Perth and Sydney with me. So usually if you have attended an in-person event, I'm always there, always talking very good about Simon, but he's never with us. He's never with us because he live like 5-6 hour plane flight away
Yes.
from Sydney, so he's in Perth. But because today we are live, I'm gonna pass the mic to him, and I'm gonna be the one silent in the background that's not gonna talk anymore. So Simon, welcome today, and all to you.
Thank you, Pierluigi. Yes, very excited to be co-hosting with you from Perth. So while I'm not usually at the Sydney events, it's been awesome to watch the community grow over the last few years. For anyone if this is your first time attending like a Friends of Figma event, whether online or in person, we aim for this to be a global community and with local impact. So there's a number of chapters across the globe, and we aim that this is just not for designers. This is for anyone, community, creative people within the community, problem solvers, cross-functional teams looking for inspiration or growth or connection. And so whether it's any of the online events that we're running or in-person meetups or community-led workshops, our goal is pretty much always the same. How can we create welcoming spaces for people to learn best practices, share ideas, and build the connections that genuinely do matter within our industry and our lives at the moment? So we always aim for this to be a space that's designed for people no matter where they are in their design journey. And so, as Pierluigi mentioned, if you're ever around in Australia, whether it's Sydney, Melbourne, or Perth, and there's an event happening, please do come and join. So today for our topic, we've got a very hot topic, because I think with any of community events that I've been involved in over the last few years, we're seeing this theme of our industry is continuously changing, whether it's designers or engineers or those hybrid roles that kind of sit between. We're navigating a space with new expectations, new workflows, and new opportunities that are continuously emerging. And so for today, we're going to be diving into one of these hot topics of the role of a design technologist within the AI era. To help us unpack this, we've got three extremely knowledgeable people from the Atlassian Design System team, who happen to also be some of my fantastic colleagues that I get to work with on a daily basis. And a fun fact, at the very first Sydney Friends of Figma event that we ran in person in May 2023, the three of them were there. We had one as a keynote speaker, one as a co-organizer, and one as an audience member. So if you were there at that original event with these three OGs, then we can form like a special little club there. So joining us, we've got Maria Chrisley, who is our head of design for the Atlassian Design System team, or ADS. Maria leads 35 of our designers and design managers who are focused on delivering impact through our design system, our design language, as well as our AI team. Lewis Healy, who is our lead design technologist within our new AI pillar within ADS. And so Lewis's experience blends both design and product and technical knowledge in building out the tooling and creating confidence for our makers that are working on any experiences within Atlassian. and Andrew Campbell, who is a senior design technologist who recently moved from our engineering team into our design technology team, and is already continuing to drive large-scale initiatives such as our custom theming and iconography. So I've already seen some of the slides. We're in for a real treat today, and so please join me in welcoming the team.
Thanks, everyone. Might as well kick us off. So, yes, hi, folks. I'm Lewis. Super excited to talk with you today. Today, we're going to be answering what is a design technologist, why Atlassian is investing in design technology. We're going to hear more from, as Simon said, Andrew's journey on moving from a software engineer to a design technologist, how design technology drives impact with AI, and how you can apply design technology thinking in your role. So let's get started. Can you see this slide? No, it's not moving. If you could, let me spotlight myself. There we go. Perfect. Technical, always something technical. So for those quickly that don't know Atlassian, we're a branded house of around 20 products, or as we now call them, apps spread across 5 collections, with Rovo, our AI, at the heart of everything. And for the most part, all apps look and feel like they are from one hand. And our Atlassian Design System, or ADS, is the cornerstone of achieving coherence across experiences. So you may have heard apps like Jira, Confluence, Trello, Loom, and recently Arc and Dia. They are all part of Atlassian. And this is what we're going to be showing you today. We're going to dive through into some contextual examples and some demos showcasing the best of design technology. Things like enabling AI prototyping across 1,000 product managers and designers, experimenting with new tech, including our own Rovo Dev CLI, or just vibe coding Figma plugins and Figma tools as anyone in the organization. So stick around, and once again, if you have any questions, please fill in the Q&A that I believe has just started, and we will have plenty of time to answer them. So what is a design technologist? A design technologist is a hybrid role that sits at the intersection of design, engineering, and product strategy. The slide hasn't changed. Perfect. Which is here. They're hands-on with emerging technology, prototyping, coding, vibing, and translating technical possibilities into user-centered experiences. With AI transforming how products are built, shipped, and maintained, this role has become uniquely essential. We're also seeing design technologists as an answer to an industry-wide demand for hybrid roles. In the early days of the web, think about the mid-1990s to early 2000s. I definitely remember those as a young child. The web developer was the first hybrid. They would write the HTML and CSS, the code, and all the back-end logic. But as the web matured, complexity exploded, forcing roles to be split into UX, UI, back-end, front-end, etc. This pushed the hybrid role away, and people rarely hired for joint roles. An expert actually in both crafts around the 2010s used to be called a unicorn, so it shows how rare it was. And it's also worth noting that the title of design technologist has actually been around for around 10 years, with the likes of Amazon having probably many design technologists employed currently, and shout out if you are a design technologist from Amazon on the call today. But now AI has leveled the playing field and allowed people to be solely creative again. And we expect hybrid roles to flourish in small and large organizations over the next 5 years. The design technologist can be the modern bridge, someone who codes like an engineer but thinks like a designer, using AI to rapidly prototype, validate, and scale ideas. And now I'll hand over to Maria.
Thanks, Lewis. If you guys want to spotlight me, just appreciate that intro. Thank you, team. So now that Lewis has shared what a design technologist is, I'd like to share why we're establishing this capability within Atlassian. So for us, it all starts at the top, and we are incredibly fortunate to work with executive leaders who value the impact of design. This quote is from Mike Cannon-Brookes, our co-founder and CEO, who recently said in this VC20 podcast that we are very heavily invested in design in the AI era. And what differentiates AI is how it feels and how it works. And I love that that was called out, because how something feels is actually the interaction design. We can no longer static our way through this next era. I liken the importance of this to the pull to refresh interaction design pattern of the mobile era from the 2010s, for all of us that remember that. Now, that only became intuitive because the industry adopted it as the new familiar way to do this. And to know if it was right, you needed to feel it and experience it and build it. And so this is where design technologists come in. They come in and they bring their ability to effectively build the user experience at a much earlier stage of thinking. Charlie Sutton, our Chief Design Officer, truly believes in this as well, and is one of our key sponsors in advocating and pushing our design system and our design culture to focus on the details of our craft and elevate our company's ability to rapidly prototype and demo these experiences. So on this slide, this was one of the slides that was presented about 6 months ago at Team 25, which is our annual company conference. And this was also used in the founder keynote, as well as the talk that Charlie Sutton gave on the future of design, which for those of you who haven't watched it, you can go to our website, Atlassian.design, and find it there under our news section. And to give you an overview of what our Atlassian Design System powers, it is made up of our design language foundations, which you can see here. It's got our components, accessibility, tooling, and docs. And now, as a part of this next phase, we've introduced a new AI pillar, of which Lewis and Andrew and many others in the team are a part of. Our design system packages are open source, and as a result, this has made it easier to integrate it with AI, giving us a competitive advantage. And now this is important because AI needs structure and context, and the design system provides that. So those with a mature and robust design system are reaping the benefits of being able to adopt and merging AI tech more successfully and more quickly than those that don't. The commercials of investing in a public design system have never made more sense, and I mean that with a C. So if you're struggling with this at your company, and I hear this from many people, look no further than leveraging AI in your next business case. Now, as we've established the AI pillar, this is now made up of our design technologists and machine learning engineers. And collectively, this new team's mission is to empower teams to bring their most creative and inspiring ideas to life in the best ways possible. With the advent of vibe coding, tools like Figma Make and Replit enable teams to work in modalities that were previously not available to us or not easy to use, particularly if you're a non-tech person. Later on in this talk, Lewis will cover other tools that we are using to power rapid prototyping and safe experimentation. So, as we've established the AI team, this team has two main goals. The first is to deepen our design systems integration with AI and LLMs to increase our ability to scale confidently. We need to design our system so AI can understand it. And then we need our design system needs to be able to use AI to generate with it. We are also looking at ways AI can augment our own team and our workflows as design system maintainers, of which Lewis will share some examples. Our second main goal for this team is to drive a culture of rapid prototyping across Atlassian. It's about bringing this to your projects as early as possible. We're using it as a form of clarification and translation because we know that prototyping has these immediate benefits and it makes the end result significantly better. So now I'll hand over to Andrew, who you've heard will share his journey from being an engineer to a design technologist in our team, and he will share with you the type of work that he's created in that role. So over to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Maria. Super excited to be here to share my experience becoming a DT and some of the stuff I've been working on. Can you hear me fine? Yeah, cool. So yeah, as Maria said, I'm not a new hire to Atlassian. So before I was a design technologist, I was a senior software engineer. So I started at Atlassian as an intern 7 years ago. And since then, I've grown into a more senior engineering role, which I had until only a few months ago. So while on the design system team, I've had the privilege to work with an incredibly talented cross-craft team to help shift a number of big features for the design system. So as a newer grad, I worked on performance and on code migrations and things like that. And then I helped to ship our design token system and updated color foundations, enabling dark mode across our product suite, including Jira, Confluence, and Trello. And then more recently, I had the chance to be an engineering lead for the updated iconography set. If you've been using our products, you might have noticed some swanky new item icons appearing in the last year. And then this year, we enabled the launch of the updated product logos as well. So each of these projects exposed me to different fundamental concepts of design, all the while surrounded by talented folks who were building up the other foundations like typography, space, and grid. It really was a crash course in design for someone who was coming in as an engineer. Another project I worked on was custom branding. So working on how to rebrand our user interfaces to align with customer brand colors. As part of that work, I built out some interactive prototypes to demonstrate the system that our design team had created. This was a really powerful lesson for me in how in-code functional prototypes built with a technical understanding of the underlying systems were incredibly useful to accelerate decision-making and catch issues quickly and improve the alignment between the product teams we were working with and the design system team who was building the capability. On that point, I also built some custom tooling to automatically assess all the supported combinations of our design tokens and assert that custom themes remained accessible. This was really useful for the project, but it also had the side effect of allowing designers to test out the potential side effects of design changes to our token set in seconds instead of hours. So yeah, another good example of like how tooling and building your own sort of custom prototypes and tooling are really valuable, something that I think is very important for DTs as well. So yeah, working on these foundations and then diving into this greenfield work with custom theming, it taught me a lot about the kind of work that I like to do. I really enjoyed a lot of my engineering work, the deep system design, the joys of programming, the satisfaction of shipping code to customers. But I also gravitated towards design and product work as well. Designers I work with often joked that I was a designer at heart, which is always lovely to hear. But I always wondered if that was something that could do more seriously. So yeah, whether it was pairing with our designers to inform design decisions, creating interactive prototypes to inform our decision-making, or building new tools to empower our design craft, I found my proudest accomplishments on the team really were in the boundary between these two roles. And yeah, that sounds awful lot like a design technologist, right? This new role was coming up. Could that be me? So I asked Maria and Lewis whether I could apply for the role change. And after an internal hiring process and a portfolio review and a very big slide deck that I made, I formally switched roles from senior engineer to senior design technologist. So it's not every day that an engineer gets to switch over to the design org, let alone at the same level. So I'm really grateful for the flexibility that Atlassian provided and the design system team provided to allow me to make this switch. It feels like a natural next step for me, where I can learn and grow in the design craft and flourish doing the work I enjoy the most. So that's pretty exciting. So on that topic, I'll wrap up with a demo of what I've been exploring since then. And that's more capabilities for custom theming. So since that first project, there have been lots of areas in our apps where our design system needs to be customized. Some of these are legacy experiences like our top nav that don't have a good technical base. Others are in experiences like hubs and customer service management, which need more flexibility. So there's also some beautiful mock-ups of how our UI could look on top of images and vibrant background. These are all just concepts, but it's something that our system currently doesn't really support. So as part of onboarding to the design technologist role, I've taken the time to vibe code a prototype of this new capability, and I've been sharing it out with the team. So this prototype that I've built, it's all built in Cursor on our real code base. It demonstrates some concepts of how customization can look in the nav, with subtle tinting of the navigation elements as an example, but also demoing how this can apply to custom board backgrounds, creating some really beautiful results as you jump between different colors, and all while requiring accessibility for the foregrounds and backgrounds. So yeah, as I said, built with Cursor inside the ADS code base, it's a fully functioning prototype using our actual design tokens and technical foundations with some polish. This could be something that could be shipped to production. The technical base is there, and it could be made up as a full request and shipped. So yeah, the power of the prototype like this is that I'm able to expose the parameters underneath the system as well, and that people play around and mess with it in a way that you really couldn't with a static prototype. And within the technical constraints that are available here. So you can see here that I can provide parameters for tinting our neutral colors, tinting the navigation background, and also the lightness of the tinting effect on the nav. So yeah, this prototype is hosted on our staging doc site, and I've been able to record looms and share it around via links to teammates. AI has also really helped accelerate the way I work. So this UI here was effectively assembled using the Figma MCP. So I linked the Figma design in and then asked it to assemble the UI. And I provided some templates for the navigation and more complicated elements. But for the main UI, I was effectively just prompting it and it was able to assemble a lot of the UI basically from scratch, which was really impressive. And in this case, I was able to mock up a Figma prototype in half an hour. So this Figma plugin is fully functional and allows you to select parts of the UI, update some variables, which you can see here are showing up in the variable panel. And then you can apply it to the current selection and apply the colors. And this is something that would take a lot of manual effort to create these variables. Otherwise, it wouldn't really be feasible. So being able to do this all automatically with a plugin, let alone one that I generated in half an hour, is pretty cool. So you can quickly update and test how the design looks on different background colors, which is great for iterating on this general design concept. And it also implement other features like tinting. So this was something that existed in our code base, and I was like, well, let's try and put it into Figma as well. I was able to do that pretty simply by prompting and providing a link to the part of the code base where that logic lived. So it's been really rewarding to build out these features of the AI. It's had a huge impact on the ambitions of these prototypes and how effectively I can communicate the design and engineering concepts. It's certainly a key tool of the Design Technologist toolkit and a way to dabble in the space if you're currently working on just design or engineering. With that, I'll hand back to Lewis.
Thank you so much. Got to remember how to unmute. Okay, cool. Thanks, Andrew. It was amazing to see that journey. Now we've given you a sneak peek of the latest project. Let's talk about all the other work that we've been doing as design technology to drive impact across the organization. And I'll also be sharing tips on how you can use AI to drive impact yourself. So our impact can be broken down into 3 key focus areas, which is mature, which we talked about a little bit already, guide, and educate. And for maturing, it's all about using the tools available to both raise the ceiling of what's possible, but also the floor of capability for every maker. And maker, we mean our product managers, our designers, our content designers, and our engineers. They're our makers at Atlassian. As design technologists, we aim to augment people. And we're currently trying to raise the floor of AI prototyping confidence. The key role of design technologists was to integrate our design system, which is the Atlassian Design System. We found early on in our enablement that design system adoption in code generation is crucial to achieve cohesive experiences for future workflows. I'm sure many of you are on your own prototyping journeys, but we were very fortunate, as Maria mentioned earlier, to have an open source system. So we could integrate early and are able to achieve around a 70 to 90% design system adherence from a single prompt or screenshot. And we achieved this by creating templates in both Figma Make and Replit with pre-configured design system instructions and popular UI elements. We actually used Cursor to initially vibe our way to those first instruction files, but we eventually kind of tidied that up. And we also included lightweight guidelines for stuff like accessibility and content. And this supercharged productivity for us because people had a high quality starting point, which reduced hallucinations and repeat work. A prime example was like our navigation, our top nav and our side nav. It was really, really hard to get that right. So we actually took a hybrid approach and included the code of the top nav and the side nav in our templates, and it reduced hallucinations dramatically, as well as our icons as well. And we found once we were more explicit with icons, the AI made up a lot less icons. It still made up a few of them. This foundation of templates actually enabled others to create pre-made UI for the likes of product teams like Jira or Confluence, giving them a higher quality starting point, which further reduced the time to generate ideas. If you're interested in learning more about how we integrated the design system in our challenges, we've actually just released an article that details this and the whole journey. So please scan this QR code, or magically Simon or someone might post this in the chat if I ask nicely, and give it a read. I'd love to get your feedback, so feel free to reach out to any of us on LinkedIn for further questions. But yeah, it really details the journey that we went through to integrate the design system into AI prototyping. So as well as supporting the tools today, our work as design technologists is actually also exploring what's possible and trying to bring that future forward. So due to our hybrid role, we sit in a fortunate position to understand workflows end to end, which gives us good context to predict how people will work in the future. And this involves with us experimenting with the latest tools, including our own, which we luckily have quite a lot, and understanding how they can be leveraged. So there's a bunch of tools I've listed here if anyone's interested. So we have our own stuff, which is Rovo and Rovo Dev, which is kind of an AI code generator and an AI agent that's really good at having context on your space, essentially your business. AI code editors, Cursor is obviously one we've mentioned a lot. I don't know if anyone's experimented with Google Antigravity. Google Gemini 3 and Nano Banana for really good asset and design generation. Our own Atlassian automations are super powerful for kind of moving stuff from Jira to Bitbucket, recording looms, everything. There's so much that can be done. And AI native browsers like Dia and ChatGPT Atlas are really, really cool in terms of having context of design system documentation and being able to pull that through without actually having to go to the website. So super powerful. And then finally, some emerging prototyping tools like OnLook and Dezen. Now we were experimenting with all these tools mentioned here casually, not officially, but we're definitely just taking inspiration from them and seeing how they solve problems that we can bring into our day-to-day. So how can you use AI to mature your team or your organization? You could experiment safely. Now, there'd be maybe many of you that don't have access to a lot of these tools or licenses. The recommendation I'd give is don't let that slow you down. You can always have a personal laptop. And the way you can do it safely is I actually have I've made my own design system on my local computer, and I actually use that to test a lot of ideas early on. That means I'm not releasing any company secrets. I'm not exposing any company code, but I can still experiment with those tools. So don't let your work laptop hold you back. There's still ways that you can experiment with stuff. And in your next project, why don't you start with a prototype, right? Rather than focus on static design in Figma, just put it in Figma Make and see what you can do with that. You may be surprised in the results, because what we found with prototyping, it can really help drive decisions faster. And a prototype will definitely get you there. And finally, we talked about templates as a great way to leverage design systems and create high quality outputs. Have a look at your experiences that you own and see which screen could be created as a template for people to start iterating on. Maybe it's a project that's upcoming. Try and create that as a template and give that to everyone and see what they can create with it and see how they can iterate it. So our team are not only gatekeepers of prototyping. Sorry, our team are not gatekeepers of prototyping and AI. And we want product teams to be successful in the next 3 years, so they need to be AI native. And we feel it's our responsibility as design technologists in the AI pillar to help guide and inspire people in this direction. We try and inspire others to use AI to solve problems too, often establishing a tool or capability by leading through example. So Figma has been a really great place for non-tech people to experiment vibing their own tooling. So we established a Figma adoption plugin called the Atlassian Design Helper as a design technologist team that helps migrate our design system foundations. It converts detached values to design tokens or moves from one library to other. And we've actually found that other team members outside of our AI pillar team are finding a lot of value building on top of it, with the likes of component migration being worked on. Our team is also leaning into building their own mini plugins for super niche problems. So AI code editors have removed the knowledge barrier, allowing Andrew, as he showed before, to spin up that theming plugin you saw earlier. Or non-engineers like Tony creating something like a border radius migrator, or Davies color ramp generator, who you'll see in a second. These are people that wouldn't necessarily call themselves engineers, but they're really leveraging Cursor and other AI editors to do things that wouldn't be possible without AI today. Figma isn't the only thing that gets better with AI. We want to be that AI native design and content system. And to achieve this, we need to create space to invest in our own tooling and processes. And here are some of the projects our teammates have driven themselves with only light support from us. We created a mini Slack bot that group DM'd a micro survey to 400 people that took about 15 minutes to create in Cursor, which saved hours and hours of work. So we've actually used that a few times now. Super beneficial. We've also started augmenting and automating our processes, like our help design channel, and shout out to Davey and Judy on our team, who also have been doing some great work on a delivery agent, which helps us historically query our Confluence space to understand project owners and decisions better. Other crafts are getting involved too. So we kind of joke that we have a resident content technologist and research technologist in Jules and Becky. Jules has been doing some awesome work with the content ops team on creating a content assistant that helps you generate copy adhering to our content standards. And Becky's built a research assistant that lets you query our research database for synthesis or conduct your own deep industry analysis. And again, these things aren't possible without AI today. So what can you do? Try and vibe code a plugin. You'll be amazed at how quickly you can get something working and how valuable it can be, solving your kind of own problems. Or look at your workflows. Like what takes the most amount of time? What takes the most amount of capacity from us? Can we actually automate that with AI or improve that? And finally, it's important that everyone grows and learns together, and we're creating a safe space. So one thing we do is we organize a thing called an innovation week, where people tools down. We're actually in it right now. People tools down and experiment with creating prototypes, building tools, building processes. A week may be too much for you, but speak to your leadership, speak to your design manager, and try and get the whole company or your whole team to even dedicate a day to you all just experimenting together. You'll be surprised how much you learn in that safe space. And finally, educating. Setting the bar for what's possible and quality is one thing, but ensuring makers are confident using the tools we have available today is just as important. Design technologists are often living in the future, but it's our responsibility to actually democratize and scale ourselves. The best way we do this is traditional courses and classes, not AI. Yes, we can automate education with the likes of Descript and Synthesia and some other tools, but we feel like we're just not ready yet. We're not ready yet as a company. We still feel like in these early stages, a human touch is just as important. And on the left, you can see our prototyping 101 curriculum. This is where we have a series of micro looms and written content for people to self-serve on AI prototyping. And we also run masterclasses in collaboration with various vendors. We found that showing people how we actually work and we break down a problem can be extremely valuable and boost confidence. And as an organization, we actually did something super special the other week, and we ran AI Product Builders Week, which we were tools down for an entire week as our design or M&T organization, which basically means 1,000 product managers and product designers were tools down for an entire week to gain confidence in AI prototyping. And we had so many aha moments. I think so many people said that they find so much value now in prototyping by just having that week to focus. And my highlight was running a 500-person masterclass across 2 sessions and really testing the limits of the tools. So what can you do? You could become an educator and be known for something. In this kind of AI era, and a lot of people go, how can I prepare myself for this future industry? I think becoming a specialist can definitely help in being known for something. For me, historically, I was known at Atlassian as the Figma plugin guy, the Figma guy, the adoption guy, and now I'm the AI guy. So I've definitely found a lot of value from being known for something and that person that they go to. And AI can help you get there and share that knowledge out once you become that expert. It can really help educate and build and raise the floor of your team or your organization. And hot off the press from the Loom team, 3 to 5 minute looms are best. They're the most sticky. So if you're recording a video and it's 12 minutes, good luck. People aren't going to watch that. I know I won't. I will look at that time code straight away, even if it's chapterized. So 3 to 5 minutes, people can squeeze in between any meeting, and that's how you really get value. So really focus on those, what we call micro looms, or any video recording software that you use. And don't forget, we're designers. Be creative, have fun, make a game. There's a game that I really want to create, which I keep talking about, which is a snake game that every time you catch a design token, the color of the tail changes to that design token. And it can just stuff like that can be really fun to build knowledge and awareness of your design system, your guidelines, your principles, whatever you're trying to educate people on. Try and theorize it in a game. And if you don't know how to do that, ask AI. It's great at problem solving. and ask it, being like, hey, this is what I want to do. Give me some ideas on how I create a course or a game on this. And it may even build the game for you. So just concluding, hopefully that's given you good insight on how we shape design technology from day one. And we can't wait to see how it will evolve over the coming quarters and years. I'll hand over to Maria.
Thanks, team. So just to give a very small plug on the next slide, we do have a lot of open roles open right now on our careers website. So if you just take a photo or a screenshot of this QR code, it will take you directly to careers, where you'll see, I think we've got about 15 open design roles that span across Gdansk, India, Australia, New Zealand, and the USA. So I would highly encourage everyone, if you are interested in that, to take a look and let us know if there's anything we can help you with. But otherwise, we are at the end, Pierluigi and Simon.
Thank you, team. Well, it's now a good chance for us to jump in, and I can read through some of the most voted questions. Feel free to jump into the Q&A tab down the bottom, and you can upvote or add in a question. Before Lewis, you answered Nathan's question in the chat. Thank you. That was one I wanted to jump to. But let's go from the very top. There's a question from Ella, and I guess this is not directed to anyone. Lewis, Maria, Andrew, feel free to all jump in. Have you got any examples of other hybrid roles formally emerging at Atlassian?
Yeah, I can jump in and start there. What I would say is that every single one of our roles at Atlassian is looking at having this, technical understanding, AI understanding. So whether that be content designer, a manager, a PM, which is a product manager, a program manager, product designer, the more that you can do to upskill yourself in how something works, the technicality of it, the material of it, is to your own benefit. And so I would say that even though we've got this formal design technologist role, which is a craft in itself, and actually, as Lewis mentioned right at the beginning, has been around for over a decade. I would say that the roles that are in demand are ones where the person is demonstrating an AI level of acumen and skew towards being more technical. So that's what I would say to that. And check out our career site, like I said, for open roles.
Thanks, Maria. And just following from that, there's another question that's been upvoted on, is Atlassian moving away from the role of product designers as we understand it, with the design technologist roles emerging and being focused on?
I would say, just to jump in on roles again, no, we're not. We're absolutely still hiring for product designers. I think that the different types of specializations, whether that be visual design, interaction design, content design, are still very much needed. And I think that what we're doing is we're seeing that there is a need for a capability to have design technologists and to formally recognize that at Atlassian as a part of having a really diverse team. And so that, when we're building teams, we look for that level of diversity. And I think that it's complementary to a product designer and a content designer.
Just to second to that as well, like something actually worth noting, a lot of the work we talked about today and showed was when we weren't design technologists. Like, it's only just been formally recognized, and we've just historically shown all the work that kind of fits within that. So yeah, it's very much just something that's always been ongoing, and now Atlassian wants to elevate that and make sure that's recognized, and it's not just a product designer who codes.
Thanks, Lewis. Continuing, I guess, on one of the questions relating to roles, and probably more towards Lewis and Andrew here. A question on, how does one get into this role, and do you have any early career positions for design technologists, or any advice, I'd say, in that question as well?
Maybe I can start with advice. Learn all the tools, basically. Even if you're very good at AI, I think having some level of coding knowledge is still very beneficial, because when we interview people, for the role, we don't just want to see that you can vibe the stuff. We want to see that you understand what's being vibed as well. And that's really crucial, especially as we're moving towards, that production environment, and shipping code to customers. So yeah, I would say still learn code, learn AI, learn the principles of design. They're still super important. And yeah, just try and be an expert in as much as possible. The great news is that you can learn it so much easier now because you have AI to help you actually learn. Like I'm currently learning another language. I just asked ChatGPT to give me a course plan and give me daily quizzes and stuff. Like we didn't have that. I didn't have that when I was learning. When I had to learn code, I learned from breaking stuff and really badly and like missing people's websites through accidentally deleting the remote through FTP. Like luckily you don't have to experience that pain. So yeah, I would say just kind of leverage AI to learn as much as you can about that process.
And Andrew, I know you shared your journey and your story transitioning from an engineering to the design technology role. Any, I guess, key learnings from yourself there?
Yeah, I think the key one is like moving from engineering to design is an interesting one. I think compared to the engineering hiring process, which is very much like, here is a quiz. So here is like a series of technical tasks to do where you're coding for multiple hours, and all the various follow-up interviews. In design, I think there's more focus on taste and more focused on examples and past experience and a portfolio of work. I'm sure Maria and Co can talk to this more, but I think even if you are an engineer and you don't have that direct experience, having a portfolio of work outside of your job or within your job that shows the kind of thinking that you can put in, and demonstrating that general understanding of visual design foundations and things like that is really valuable. And yeah, I think to what Lewis said on the coding side, like I think a key value of the design technologist isn't just that you can vibe code, because a lot of people can vibe code. It's can you vibe code and apply that in a way that gives you sort of something that's valuable as a technical prototype of how feasible a piece of work is, and that comes into understanding the production context and the difficulties that come with shipping code to production. So I think any experience you can have working with code and understanding it beyond vibe coding tools is a really good thing to start skilling up in.
Awesome, thanks, Andrew. Another question from Ella: do design technologists ship code to dev production, or does there still need to be an engineer involved?
No, great question. So yeah, we're only a few months in our official AI prototyping kind of enablement, and yes, design technologists can essentially ship code to production, but it's not necessarily our focus for now. Like a lot of our focus is maturing AI prototyping, and AI prototyping itself is just focused on that customer testing experience, and alignment of decision making. Andrew, as is a software engineer previously, he would be very comfortable shipping code. So you wouldn't necessarily need an engineer, but we don't necessarily think of it like that. We have engineers on our AI pillar, and we want to collaborate with them as much as possible. So we don't necessarily feel it as replacing any roles or not needing a role in a project. It's just finding the team that suits the project the most, if that answers your question. So yes, we can ship to production, but it's not necessarily our focus all the time. A lot of it is that experimentation.
I'd add that ultimately, like, there is a code review process, at least at Atlassian. Also for compliance purposes, you need to have a reviewer. You can't just merge code on your own. So if you're a DT and you have a little bit less coding experience, that's where your senior engineer or someone else who's around who can be your reviewer, who can provide you that feedback, is really important. And that's a good part of the general process of skilling up as an engineer, is just getting that sometimes brutal feedback on your PR to improve and iterate on what you're shipping.
Awesome. All right, so next I'm going to jump to a question from Ariel, because I feel like we've discussed a lot of questions around the role and learning and getting into those sorts of experiences. But a question from Ariel of what does effective collaboration and ways of working look like in an AI-driven rapid prototyping culture?
Yeah, we're still working that out. It's still early days, but what we feel like is happening is the software delivery lifecycle is, I'm calling it the great squishing. where, you know, it used to be the kind of double diamond or whatever, and that's just like getting faster and faster. So I think the collaboration still happens, but it's probably you just collaborate all together earlier, or basically end to end. So yeah, with rapid prototyping and the prototyping culture, you could imagine a product manager, an engineer, a designer now can all product manage, code, design at kind of a 7 out of 10. They essentially say, right? So that there's a level playing field now. So anyone can essentially pick up the work straight away and then see it through. Collaboration is still important, and we think for effective collaboration, you need those crafts to, you know, as Andrew said, review things, create those feedback loops. But it's still very much early days for us, so we're not too sure, but we're going to be figuring that out and the impacts of everything and how that software delivery lifecycle looks like next year for sure.
I think just to build on what Lewis is saying as well on that is that prototyping should be used to make sure that everyone is aligned and on the same page. It's also used to build on each other's ideas. It's used to get things out of your head, your mental model, and the picture. You know, the old adage that a picture says 1,000 words. Well, a prototype must be like 10x of that, because it immediately helps to translate what the experience could look like and what you're trying to communicate. And the more effective you can communicate, the more likely it is that your idea will be more robust. You'll be able to think of use cases and think of, opportunities that you may not have thought of if you were still in statics. And it allows you to also validate with customers a lot earlier than possible. So I think all of this is just to say that the collaboration, I think, is just happening all the time in lots of small iterative cycles, which is really exciting. And it's helping the solution or the idea to get better. So prototyping enables those outcomes to happen a lot sooner.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, next question is from Nathan. How does the ADS team see the future designer experience in the terms of changing balance between Figma design specifically, Figma products generally, relative to non-Figma environments like Cursor, etc.?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. I think the mental model we're currently thinking about is that, like, before AI, we were in a fixed mindset where the tool we used was fixed, right? It was, the process was you go, you know, you do the research, you do the design, you code in this environment. And now it's so easy to kind of generate stuff. We're kind of moving into a fluid model where, you know, as a design system team, we need to make sure our design system context or the design system can be used in any tool that a designer wants to use. So what we're trying to move towards is that, where the designers are probably going to be using a lot more tools and it's going to be a lot more fluid. And we need to just make sure that we support that. And it will be with stuff like Model Context Protocol, which is MCP, where you can essentially plug in your design system. So yeah, we feel like everything's going to be a lot more fluid in the future. Maria, I don't know if you want to touch on that as well.
No, I think you answered it really well. And thank you for asking that question, Nathan. I think there's a difference between experimentation and using as many different tools as possible to generate an experience and prototype it. And then there's then how do we scale it? How do we actually use and leverage AI to help us maintain and help us to scale and help us to iterate the system more quickly? And I think that's where you need a lot of robustness and probably more formalized tools that get used, as opposed to, I think, what we're talking about here, which is making sure that we're able to stay on top of trends, emerging tools that, you know, Lewis shared, to very quickly see what works and what doesn't. And I think also a lot of these tools have feedback forms as well, or the opportunities to participate in research and provide feedback. And so the more we use it, the better these products get. And I think it'll make clear which ones will actually stand the test of times and which ones won't. So it's just an interesting time.
Awesome. Okay, I'm just jump down to a few other questions that I think are touching on some different sort of themes that we haven't answered already. So question from Son on how have we all been able to gather any quantitative metrics around AI tooling usage or its impacts on the design system ROI, e.g. the ability to show the increase of how well AI coding tools using DS components.
I can speak to, I might let Lewis and Andrew jump in on the quality of the componentry that's used and the outputs, but I can say that from a usage perspective, we are tracking through the analytics that many tools like Figma make and Replit provide. We are tracking usage, how many prototypes are created, which departments and teams are those folks in, what is the quality of those outcomes. I think the next stage of maturity is to then look at, well, what is the impact of that? Did that influence a roadmap? Did that change a decision? Did that align stakeholders much sooner? So I think that's just the next evolution of measuring success. And we're very much starting off with just making sure that we lift everybody's level of education and acumen first and foremost, so that we set a baseline from which to then measure the impact of this and measure it very, very quickly in the new year, I think is the next stage.
Yeah, just building. Yeah, it's something we definitely want to find and figure out. But the first problem is just getting people using it, because you've got to get people using it to be able to then track its impact, which just can be a little bit chicken and egg, right? Because sometimes you need to say how impactful it is to get the usage. An example of what we're doing is we have a design system MCP server as well as an Atlassian MCP. We have usage tracking in that MCP server. So soon we're going to be able to see how many people are actually extracting context from our design system MCP, and we'll be able to then overlay that with a research or some sort of impact analysis to understand the impact of when someone calls from an MCP, they save X amount of time. So over time, we'll be building those metrics out, but it's a little bit early for us.
All right. Well, probably one more question, and then we'll need to look at wrapping up. But a question on curious to know what templates you made. So is it for prototyping, Cursor, Figma Make, or something else?
So shout out to Kyler Hall, our principal engineer. He did something really cool. We have a centralized templating kind of engine or whatever, where we extract our design system components, we generate the instructions, and we generate some templates. What that means is we generate templates for Cursor, we generate the same template for Replit, and we generate the same template for Figma Make. And if for some reason we wanted another prototyping tool, we can generate the template for that. So we support those 3 use cases at the moment, but we've kind of built it where we can kind of support any other use case we wanted to. The code of that also supports our MCP. So it's what we call an intelligent source of truth. It's this centralized knowledge of our design system that's distributed to wherever people need to interact with it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Lewis, Maria, and Andrew, for taking us through all of that today, as well as answering any of these questions. I'm sure there'll be plenty more, and perhaps if there's any questions that do pop up, always at a future Friends of Figma event, always feel free to reach out. All right, Pierluigi, are you able to jump to the next slide? There we go. So coming up next week, there's a Sydney in-person event, the Tech Leaders Annual Event. You can scan that QR code to RSVP, and we can look at also sharing the link in the chat as well. If you're ever interested in giving a talk or hosting a future event or sponsoring, please feel free to get in touch with myself or Pierluigi. Again, you can scan that QR code and get in touch as well. And of course, we would love to get some feedback. Help us know what topics and discussions that we can look at setting up in the new year. So we look forward to seeing you all either online or in person in 2026. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. And just in case you haven't had time to take the QR code from the screen, I post all the links in the chat. So feel free to scroll up and find where those links are. Or again, just reach out to me, myself, or Simon, and we will share them with you again. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Recording will be available on our YouTube channel. The link is also in the chat. It's again, you just go on the same landing page you use for register to this event, and you will find a YouTube channel as well. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks all.
Bye.